The bubble you'll see is we're highlighting Mr. Wallace. This is the McDonald's at Reno and Midwest Boulevard. He's walking across the street. We see him here. He'll actually walk across Midwest Boulevard to the grocery store. His apartment complex is about a half a block away to the east of that location. This is the same video that we presented to Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prater for him to make his ruling with, along with all of our evidence and information we received from our investigation. Here he's approaching the front of the business. He's walking in, he's carrying his cell phone. He grabbed a shopping cart. This is at 3:05 p.m. on Monday afternoon. See, he comes in, appears to be a normal shopper. He's walking towards the south of the store. And this is actually the area where the incident actually ends eventually. Still walking through. Pretty quick we'll see our victim, her mother, and her sister. Okay, here is our hostage, 2.5-year-old, her mother, and her 12-year-old sister walking through the store. As you can see, there's our suspect. He walks by, actually sees the child. Mom and sister are close by, just like normal shoppers would do. Our suspect is still roaming the store with an empty shopping cart. There's our suspect again. He'll make one more circle, come back around, and that's when he takes the child. When he abducts the child, he immediately hands the cell phone to the mother. Obviously, the 12-year-old shocked as what's occurring, and he actually demands her to make a call to an individual who is a Dallas police officer that he's known since apparently childhood. Here's our suspect coming. Here he abducts the child, removes her from the shopping cart. Then he pulls the knife out after he gives the cell phone. He walks up to the mother, gives her the cell phone, and demands that she call this Dallas police officer. Obviously, the mother's shocked. She starts to scream, "Hand me my baby, give me my baby. You've got my baby." And that's when people notice that something's wrong and we start to receive the 911 calls. He's removed the knife. He has the knife held up to the child. Obviously, we have store employees, the mother frantically pleading. She has the suspect's cell phone. She's trying to dial the number he's requesting. He's unreasonable, screaming, yelling. Obviously, as we said earlier, we start to get 911 calls. We have the 911 call embedded here.
Immediately. Okay.
You can see how distraught the mother is. This is the pastor, Mr. Parker, who's pulled his cart up. As you saw, he blocked the ability of the suspect to walk to the west.
A black male, a white child, and a white mother.
Okay. Where is she at?
She's right here talking to him. She's trying to get him to give her back. Hello?
I'm here. Stay on the line with me. Don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
Whatever you do, don't hang up with me.
I won't hang up.
Okay. Does she know him?
I don't know.
Does he have any weapons?
I don't know. I don't know. He told him to shot.
Okay. But you can't see any weapons?
I'm trying to not let him see me on the phone.
What kind of hat does he have on?
It's a baseball cap.
Okay. Do you know what color it is?
He has on What color is the cap? A black cap, turned backwards. He has one shade. What color is the shirt? Dark blue long sleeve shirt.
What is he yelling?
Got the child distraught now. Obviously, Mr. Parker's very calm. He has his daughter with him.
He just threw his wallet on the floor and said his ID was in it.
Just threw his wallet on the floor
Okay,
here.
Is that what all he yelled?
Yeah, he said he wanted kids, but I don't know what his relationship is with this woman.
Okay. What is she doing?
She's talking to him, trying to get him to give her child back.
Okay. Does it seem like she knows him?
I can't tell. I don't know.
Okay.
Can you just get someone over here, please?
Yeah, they're on their way. I just didn't want to
we're
you. What is your name?
Debbie.
You'll see Sergeant Floyd Netherton be the first officer that responds.
371.
He'll come down the aisle and confront the suspect,
Okay, they're off.
pleading with him to
Okay.
drop the child, removing the knife, and he refuses to do so, obviously.
Okay.
He then asks, there's Sergeant Netherton. He's telling him we can resolve this, put the child down. He refuses. He wants Sergeant Netherton to call the Dallas police officer. And at this time, other officers are responding from different areas within the store. Once again, you see Mr. Parker standing by calmly, making sure the suspect doesn't walk towards the west. Mr. Wallace is incoherent at this time, making unreasonable demands. We ask everybody to step back. We have other officers on the scene. We evacuate the store, lock the store down while we try to negotiate with the suspect. Here you see Captain Huff has arrived. They're moving people away. They'll eventually escort the mother to the front of the store, and obviously, as I said earlier, how horrible is that to leave your daughter in the arms of a complete stranger who's holding a knife to your child? But it was necessary because obviously she was frantic at that point, and we needed to open up lines of communication. This is Detective Sergeant Daryl Miller here. David is the primary hostage negotiator. Sergeant Miller is the second hostage negotiator. Other officers here at the scene. We have part of our SWAT team responding. They're escorting the mom. She didn't want to go. Obviously, that de-escalates the situation for us. He's still demanding that we get a hold of the police officer in Dallas. He's thrown the sunglasses down now. They're forcing mom to leave. We do get a hold of the police officer in Dallas. He says he is acquainted with the suspect. However, he's tried to avoid him because he's been calling his cell phone multiple times, and there is no relationship other than they grew up together, and he does know him. Wallace at this time is talking about Illuminata. Also that George Bush is watching him. And we bring him a chair, and this is a tactical decision because we want him to sit down. So in case we do have to take any action, the child doesn't fall to the ground, and we can also control his movements. He actually does eventually take the chair, and he will sit down. Still has the knife to the child. During negotiations, they try all kinds of cues, talk to him about family, about job, about how the child is not afraid of him. Child's calm. We know he's not going to hurt this child. He continues to make unreasonable time demands to get the officer from Dallas here. Initially starts at 10 minutes. It's 5 minutes now, the 60-second countdown. David Huff is trying to divert his attention. He squats down. At that point, Wallace looks over to Sergeant Miller. And what Huff does at that point, he takes a tactical advantage, walks towards Wallace as he takes the knife from the child's stomach to the neck area. Child starts to squirm. And then the shooting occurs. Captain Huff said he didn't know if the child had been stabbed at that point. He was concerned, obviously, for her life. There was no other options. We negotiated for 34 minutes. We tried to use every tactic to make this a peaceful situation. Unfortunately, we couldn't. At that point, suspect was shot and killed. And we're here today to discuss this case. And what I also want to discuss just briefly is the fact that this case changed lives forever. It not only affects the police officers, it affects the police officer families. It also affects the firefighters who respond, the 911 people who actually take the calls. In fact, one of our 911 operators said she felt like she was going to throw up during the calls. And it's a situation, it's a critical incident. But I can tell you that our officers did everything exactly right. They exhausted all means to bring this to a peaceful conclusion. And David Huff is a hero. And Darrell Miller, who was there within 3 feet at the time the shot was fired, actually got blood spattering on him. He did a fantastic job also. He's just not the one that pulled the shot.